said in the last episode, the Eagles were on my copium list.
Yep, yep.
Would you like to hear who they lost?
Yeah, yes.
So they lost Josh Sweat, who went to the Cardinals. They lost Milton Williams, who went to the Patriots. They lost Isaiah Rodgers, who went to the Vikings. They lost Darius Slay, who went to the Steelers. They lost James Bradbury, who they cut, which is the interesting one. And then they traded CJ Gardner Johnson to the Texans. So there's key players on the secondary and defensive line are just gone. And if I'm looking at my spreadsheet here of who there was signed, now albeit I made this a couple days ago, but Philly is the only team on my list that didn't sign anyone.
Philly hasn't signed anyone
I'm
yet?
sure they signed AJ Dillon, but
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
they have some issues on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I didn't know they lost that much. That's kind of
I
crazy.
told you they were going to lose key defensive players, and they done did it. They still have enough talent on the offensive side of the ball to where they can compete. I think I said that, but there's a little bit of a little pothole in the road to the Super Bowl back to back years here, which was
Well,
their
that
impressive D line. But
yeah, that defense was nasty that whole playoff run. I mean, they were really good, so uh
now, as a speaking as Packer fans, we're gonna love this news, but it's also as a football fan, it's kind of sad to see. But the 49ers, they lost everyone.
yeah.
And they
Yep.
still have no money to spend. Who did they spend their money on? Mac Jones, the guy they should have drafted over Trey Lance. Oh.
Yeah, who did the 49ers all lose?
So they cut, shockingly, Kyle Juszczyk, longtime like number one fullback in the league here.
Yeah.
They cut defensive tackle Javon Hargrave and defensive tackle Malik Collins. Now, Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga signed with the Broncos. You have Charvarius Ward, who signed with the Colts, which they weren't ever going to keep him because due to tragedy, he needed to get out of California and just start fresh. That's up to him. But then Aaron Banks, their top guard, signed with us. Jalen Moore, their left tackle, and Elijah Mitchell, their backup running back, signed with the Chiefs. And they traded Debo for a bag of Skittles. One more team that did lose a lot, and we talked about this a lot, is the Seahawks.
Oh my
They
gosh.
trade
Yeah.
Metcalf to the Steelers. They release Lockett. And now everyone's asking who the hell is Darnold going to throw to? Which free
Mhm.
agency news, they signed Sam Darnold to no surprise. But
Yep.
they made zero moves in free agency on the O line. But at the same time, to be fair, the price of the offensive lineman talent out there in free agency this year severely outweighed the talent that there was. It's like there was maybe 2 to 3 players at each position on the O line that was actually like you need to pay this guy. But now these got some of these guards and centers are getting paid like almost 90 million, even though they haven't played full seasons. And it's like it's fair, but when you have legitimate starting issues on offensive line, there's only so much you can do in the draft. So what the heck? And they need a wide receiver to complement uh, Jackson Smith and Higba.
Yeah.
So
And
because
that's just the necessities. I mean, I don't know how they went, what they're thinking. I
they
mean,
did sign a tackle, but he's kind of just a depth piece, and believe they traded for and signed a few defensive line players. I think like Demarcus Lawrence was a guy they signed. I just don't think he's on my list. But so like their defense did get a little bit better this year. It was cool. You have a defense like one of the greatest defensive minded coaches in the past 5 years as your head coach, but you have legitimate issues on the O line, and you need to
oh,
fix that. Okay.
and
Oh.
Sam Darnold, he can pick you apart if you give him time, I feel like. But we've seen even last season, as soon as you start getting pressure on Sam Darnold, um,
Not good.
his accuracy goes down by a lot.
He's not good under pressure, and he went to a team with a worse O-line than the Vikings.
Yeah, so I just don't see how this is going to work out. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe Seattle will prove me wrong, but I just don't see anything good coming out of that. So
And I'm also like I went off to you about that, about how excited I was that Clint Kubiak got hired by Seattle and what he was gonna do with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, JSN, uh what's his name? Freaking Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. Like that's a lethal, and Geno Smith, a guy he was very excited to work with. And then they trade Geno Smith and DK Metcalf and let go of Lockett. So now you have, and all their offensive line talent that they did have, almost all of it got released. So what is your plan here?
yeah, I mean, it's not like they were that far off.
No,
Like they did pretty good last season. So I mean,
they went 10-7, and they had a coordinator that was about to make them super freaking explosive, and they
yep.
just didn't. They just got rid of all of that. So now what the heck are they left with? Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I went from being very excited for the Seahawks as much as I hate them as a Packer fan to being, what the hell are you guys doing? It's like,
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't make that make sense, people. I don't understand.